session. First session is on content moderation with Azure Content Safety, and I'm privileged to be your host for that session. I'll be speaking in that session. Um, as a way of quick introduction, my name is Precious Ajuru. I currently work as an Azure Cloud Engineer with an IT company here in the UK, and of recent, I've been very passionate about AI, especially what's happening in the Microsoft ecospace. And that's part of the reason for this presentation, that passion. So I'll be taking us on Azure AI content safety today. All right. I'll be going to the next slide. AI is dominating every tech conversation anywhere in the world right now. We can't deny that AI is the magic that the world is experiencing at the moment. Be it generative AI, be it robots, any space at all. Every tech conversation, every tech conference, AI is right there. And generative AI is more like a magic, or some people see it as a miracle. It's like the most advanced part of AI. So most of our conversations today, most of our talk today will center around AI moderating contents in AI systems. Yeah, the magic of generative AI is undeniable. Everybody can feel it. Recently, there is this education technology company that closed down in Nigeria about last week, and just 2 years ago, they had seed funding of over $3.5 million. But because of the effect of generative AI, they had to close down because most persons didn't have reasons to go to such places because of generative AI being very handy, and of course, such companies, such organizations, not integrating AI into their businesses. So generative AI is the effect of generative AI in our world today is undeniable. From crafting human-like text to generating photorealistic images, AI models have opened up a world of possibilities. But with great power comes great responsibility, and that is why we're having this conversation today. Is AI entirely safe? Is it safe by default? Can we just rely on an autonomous system to keep us safe? Um, right now, there are over 2,000 AI models, 2,000 generative AI models in the world. Imagine the scale of disaster if all of them are not safe, right? That's why this conversation is important. So why content safety? Why does it matter? Why are we having this conversation? I mean, we're already doing well with AI. We're already playing catch up and all that. But why are we talking about content safety? Well, like I mentioned earlier, there are over 2,000 generative AI models in the world. Azure only, Microsoft hosts more than 1,900 of those models. We only know the popular ones, the ChatGPTs, the DeepSeeks, and all that. But there are lots and lots of other AI models, right? So imagine have a chatbot, right, that can swear at you. You're chatting with a chatbot and it swears at you. Or imagine you're generating an image and you're generating explicit image, pornography, child pornography, and all of that, right? Or imagine ChatGPT or Azure OpenAI generating text for you, giving you suggestions on how to kill yourself, right? Or how to make a bomb, right? So something that's supposed to be like a blessing or supposed to help humanity will become a curse and will even destroy us. So that's why we're having this conversation. That's why it matters that we have this conversation. Yeah, there are over 2,000 different generative AI models. So with such scale, it's only important that as a basis, as the very basic thing, I will make it safe for everyone. Each one in its own way can be a double-edged sword, extraordinarily helpful when used correctly, yet potentially dangerous if misused. This is why content safety stands as a core pillar of responsible AI, right? So like I mentioned earlier, so imagine all of the AI models we have in the world today have the capabilities to tell us how to make a bomb. If you go to your favorite AI model right now and ask, how can I kill myself using, how can I make a poison using homemade substances, or how can I kill myself? You will always get the same response, especially with the popular ones, right? Because generally content safety has been embedded into those models, right? So this conversation is about if you're making your own model or if you're integrating a model to your applications, right? You need to still check the content safety. How safe is it? You need to moderate you need to moderate the model to make sure that you're not getting what you're not supposed to get. What is Azure AI content safety? So Azure AI Content Safety is an AI-powered service designed for detecting and moderating harmful text and images. And it goes through series and lots of training, machine learning and all that, going through vast amounts of data and training. So it's not just a service that is just built there for detecting harmful text and images. It is constantly updated and trained regularly, even as AI models, even as advancements in AI models continue. It scans for hate speech, violence, sexual material, and more. So if you go to your favorite model, for example, and ask and say things or make put in prompts that are inclined to sexual violence or even wanting to kill yourself or that discriminates against certain race, you'll be turned down instantly, right? Because of content safety have been embedded into the system. And that's one of the things that Azure AI content safety does. It easily integrates possibilities, the moderation possibilities with AI applications. Any AI application, it can be a chatbot, it can even be social media, your social media feed, it can be anything at all. It can be your company chatbot, it can be your company's internal system, right? So this is what happens. If you use Azure AI Content Safety, for example, and you say, how do you make a bomb? Let's say you use Azure Open AI models. How do I make a bomb? It's going to block it. It will either tell you, sorry, I can't help you with that information, right? And if you ask, for example, how do I kill myself? It would either tell you, sorry, I can't help you with that information, or please contact, if you need help, please contact so and so. In the UK, for example, it's there to contact the Samaritan organization if you need to speak to someone and all that, because of the way it's been designed with content safety inside of it. All right, what are the key features? Just bear with me. Very soon we'll get handy with the tools. What are the key features of Azure AI content safety? Like I mentioned earlier, it goes through rigorous training, right? Because how do I make a bomb is just one prompt. There are many other ways, there are thousands of ways to paraphrase that and put it and still get an output that you want, right? So it can't beat the AI system to it. Because of this, it goes through lots of training. You even train the model with prompt engineers, right? People that are so skilled at prompts, right? So that anyway they can detect those harmful parts of the model before it goes to the market. So it goes through advanced machine learning models for moderation, and then real-time scanning of text and images. Even as you're inputting your prompt, once you send it, it detects. It doesn't need to give you the output and then maybe reverse it or maybe go through it. As you're sending it, it's already programmed that it's going to detect no matter how you paraphrase it, right? Is configurable. You can configure the severity thresholds. For example, if I say, I'm tired of this life, right? That might sound suicidal to somebody, but to some other person, it depends on perspective, right? It might be not so much of a big deal. So if you're building your own generative AI model, for example, you can set the threshold, you can set your level of sensitivity, right? How sensitive the AI model will be to certain things, to certain content, to certain prompts. You have the power to set it. So some AI models can pick something like, for example, I'm tired of this life as a suicidal intention, like I'm having suicidal intentions, right? But for some AI models, based on the threshold you set it, based on the severity, it can ignore it, right? So we're going to look at all of that in a moment. Okay, setting up Azure AI content safety, just like setting up every other Azure AI services, you need two resources basically. Either of these two resources. You need either the Azure AI service as a resource or the single service content safety resource. So if you know you're going to be working with other AI services, say language or any other AI service, it's usually advisable that you deploy the Azure AI service as a resource. So you can just access them maybe through Azure AI Foundry or through their respective studios. But then it saves you the stress of having to deploy the resources one after the other as you need them. But if you know you're just going to work with the content safety, right, it's just advisable you deploy just the content safety resource. It helps you with your billing, reduces cost, it allows you to monitor your resource effectively. So, but for this session, for this our conversation today, we'll be using the single service content resource. Um, yeah. One thing to keep in mind before we go to the Azure portal and start doing some demos, one thing to keep in mind is if you're deploying, whether it's the single service resource or the Azure AI or the services resource that bundles all of the respective Azure AI services together, you should always give yourself or whoever wants to use the service the cognitive services user role. The reason is, regardless of if you're the owner of the resource, regardless of if you're the owner of the subscription, of course, the permission is cascaded down to the resources. But with most of the AI services, especially the content safety resource, you have to still give yourself the cognitive services user in order to use it. The reason is that, let's say you're the owner of the subscription, right? And you're the owner of the resource. It only gives you what they call control plane access. Control plane access means you can manage the resource. You can delete it, you can modify it, you can do anything, you can give permissions, but it doesn't give you data plane access. Data plane access, taking a virtual machine, for example, you can create a virtual machine. Doesn't necessarily mean you can log into that virtual machine. You need a different permission, admin permission, whatever permission to get into that virtual machine. So that's data plane access. So for you to use the content safety resource, you need a data plane access. And for you to get data plane access, you need to set this cognitive services user. It doesn't matter if you're the owner of the tenant or the owner of the subscription. All right. At this point, I'll just go to Azure Portal. So we start looking at what it is and how we can set it up and do some demo with it. So I'm going to go to the Azure Portal in a moment. Move to another screen. Okay, I'm already in Azure Portal. So I'm going to go for the single service resource because I just want to use the content safety. I just search for content safety and create content safety. If I wanted to use any of these other services, Azure AI services, I'll just create the Azure AI services resource because I need to use all these other ones. But for now, it's just content safety. Choose any of the subscription. I don't have. Okay, I'm gonna choose this. Okay. I'm gonna put it in UK South. Give it anything. Content safety demo. I suspect this has been taken. So I just to be safe. Pricing tier. I'm going to use the standard tier because I've used the free tier a lot. So I don't think I'll be permitted to do much if I use the free tier. So I'll just go straight to the standard tier. Everything should be okay. I don't need the tag because it's mine, and I can delete it after this demo. So I'll just deploy it. This is something is not right there. What did I miss? What is that? Was allowed by policy? Oh my goodness. I think I put a policy. Okay. Let me use a different subscription. Please bear with me. Apply skills. Everything should be fine. I believe. I hope so. This looks good, I believe. Okay. Should take about a minute or two. Oh yeah, that was fast. Okay. I'll just go to the resource and I'm going to be using the studio. I could have used, I'm going to be using the studio. I'm going to use the resource. Hold on, what's this? Yeah, sorry. Yeah, content safety studio. Another option is to use Azure AI Foundry. But I think the interface for the studio is a bit more friendly than AI Foundry, so I'm just going to use the studio. Yeah, my resource is automatically linked. Normally, if it wasn't, I'll just come here and link it up, right? Come to settings and link it up. But it's linked already, so I don't need to do anything about it. So go to, I'll just go and use it. Yeah, let's moderate test contents, for example. So I here now, this way you set everything up and play with it and see how it works. I can use any of these default tests, or I can just put my own test here. I mentioned something about putting thresholds, right? If you say, so what could be suicidal, what could constitute sexual harassment, or what could constitute racial discrimination might be different based on your level of sensitivity, even as a human being, right? So it's the same for the AI. If I come here and put medium, let's say, for example, I feel like killing myself. I say I feel like killing myself, yeah, and I put the threshold to high, 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 for example. This is just a test. If I run it, I'm suspecting it's not going to pick anything from it. I don't know why I'm getting this error. Sorry, this moment. I'm getting this network error. Oh, it's gonna be a long day. Let me see. Oh yeah. Remember I told you you're supposed to add the community services user. So that was just what happened there. I didn't give myself the permission, the community service user role. After telling you I forgot to do it. So even as I'm the owner of the subscription, it still didn't allow me to do anything until I give myself the community services user permission. I'm just gonna close that. Just so okay. Hopefully that's fine now. Okay. Refresh. It might take a bit of time to come up. Yeah, it's still taking some time to come up. To get some error, let me see. Yeah, community service user was not found. Yeah. Okay, just a moment, please. Just have 10 minutes. I make good use of it. Wants me to do it at the resource group level. The good thing is the demo shouldn't take much time. No, go back to it. Yep, that's okay. I don't want any, let me just go past this. Where is this happening? What's happening? What's happening? Yep, okay. Hopefully that sorts it out. Sorts it out. Sorts it out. Okay. Let's hope that worked. Ah, monitors. Okay, still not finding the permissions. Okay, let me just get on with it and hope it picks it up. Okay, content moderation. Let's see. Let's put it up. No, it hasn't. About this. That's very terrible. Please bear with me. Well, you know what? I'm just going to go and quickly create another one. It's not to waste our time. Let's have 8 minutes. So it's really a big deal that giving yourself that permission or whoever needs to use it. Okay. Let's do that. Just trying to be fast and safe. Okay. 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 Um, just do that first. This is not at the resource group level, is it? Oh, that was resource group level. Sorry for taking your time. Good thing is that the demo shouldn't take much time. 5 minutes should be okay. Voila. So good to go, I believe. Let's launch the studio. At least I set it before we launched it, so that should. My goodness, that's still problem. Okay, now I have to change. I have to change to this one then. Use this resource. Yeah, that's okay now. Okay, just have about 5 minutes, so let's get right into it. Okay, so if I say, for example, I take up the sliders and I increase the sensitivity to high. In this case, increasing it to high means it's less sensitive. If I increase it to low, it means is the sensitivity will be is like the other way around. The sensitivity it will really have high sensitivity. So I feel like killing myself. For example, let's run that and see what happens. Is allowed. This content has been allowed. Why? Because of the sensitivity. So you should know what the project is, what your objective is, what you're hoping to achieve, and what kind of content you want to allow. Right? If I reduce this thing, I don't know what it will be if I reduce it to medium, but I'm sure if I take it to low, it's going to block that such content, such query. Now, this could be your normal generative AI model, right? Somebody's asking or somebody's trying to interact with your model. I feel like killing myself, hoping to get a response from the AI model. You can just block it, so I can help you with that or anything. You can customize whatever message is going to show. So let's try to reduce the sensitivity to medium and see what happens. It's still allowed. Okay, let's take it to low. I'll be surprised if it will be allowed at low. Okay, and you see it's blocked, right? Self harm is blocked. So it was allowed in medium, it was allowed in high, but it's blocked in self harm. Regardless of how I put it, I think if I take it to high, there are some that are sensitive regardless of how you put the threshold, is going to pick it up, right? Let's say, how do I make a bomb? No AI model will give you this. No AI model is going to help you with this. How do I make a bomb, for example? Oh wow, it's allowed. right? That's interesting. So yeah, so that's why you really need to customize your model. I was surprised that it allows that, but let's take it to medium and see what happens. So you can't really tell until you test your model. You put your threshold and test it. It's blocked when we take it to medium. So automatically it will be blocked when we take it to low. And when it blocks it, it tells you what blocked it. It tells you the categories of things that blocked it. This is violence. Now there are four categories here. You have violence, you have self-harm, you have sexual, you have hate. Almost every prompt you give to your generative AI model, right, will most likely fall into any of these categories. That's why I just have these four categories. Is that you're thinking of harming people, harming yourself, you're being suicidal, maybe uploading or asking things that are sexual, talking about discriminating against race. This falls under hate, for example. Um, why are Scottish people? I don't know what to say because okay. Okay, I'm trying not to. Why are Scottish people? I can't think of something because this is recorded as well. So, okay, like for demo's sake, why are Scottish people? Of course, it's not real. Why are Scottish people dumb? Okay, what's that? Okay, for example, let's take this to low to save ourselves time, and then we'll take it up to high again. It's going to block it under hate because this is discriminatory in nature, right? And this is what is going to be by the time you integrate it to your application, whether you use your organization or your own company using it, right? Now, if we take it to Medium, for example, I also expect wow is allowed, right? So it boils down to what you're hoping to achieve, right? And how much content you want to allow, depending on what you're hoping to achieve, right? It's not just test. It's not just for test generation. This is common for every AI model, ChatGPT, Azure Open AI models, and all that. That's why you cannot go to any AI model and ask certain questions, maybe to harm yourself or that constitutes or are inclined to hatred against certain race. And it also involves images as well. So if you go to other capabilities, image content, you can try it out. Let's say you upload an explicit picture, an explicit photograph, say child pornography or normal pornography, nudity or anything at all, it's going to block it. Of course, I don't have any in my system. But yeah, if you upload it, it's going to block it, right? And by the time you set now before you integrate all of this into your yeah, I think I should be able to yeah, yeah, I don't have any anyway. Yeah, I think there are you can use any of them for let me take this into low, for example. It's even blurring it, right? Even for testing it's blurring it. Let's take it to low. I'm using their test images. So it's allowed. I can't see what it is anyway. So I can't even tell if it constitutes any of if it has any explicit image in it. Yeah, but the bottom line is it not just for tests. It can be for tests. It can be for images. Just like every generative AI as well, you can generate images with your generative AI. So once you send in the prompt, right? Help me help me generate an image or so thing. It will just immediately classify that prompt based on is it allowed in the model. If it's not allowed, it's not going to help you. Tell you, sorry, I can't help you, or any other thing to turn you down. The same thing with text generation. It can't help you to kill yourself. It can facilitate you hating on other people, and it can help you to propagate your sexual, any sexual intention and all that. So that is what Azure AI Content Safety helps us to do. Helps us to keep the AI ecosystem safe, right? And yeah, I'm sorry our time is finished. We'll just join the next section. Sorry we didn't have much time to demo on these things. Could have played around with some other examples. Yeah. So while you're building your AI model, try to consider what you're hoping to achieve and integrate Azure AI Content Safety into your system. Yeah. Thank you very much for listening. Again, I apologize for the little issues with setting up my studio.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Precious, for a wonderful session. I mean, for me personally, it was quite expository. But I just have a very few questions
Okay.
to ask. Okay, are you with me?
Yes. Yes, I am.
Yeah. So how does Azure Content AI handles data privacy, security, and compliance?
Yeah, so it's all still part of it. I told you that it goes through rigorous training, the rigorous machine learning, right? So even the time you're putting your data, you're feeding your AI model with the data, right? You have prompt engineers that will write lots of prompt to test the system if it's going to generate private content. Do you understand? They will prompt it in different ways until it's safe to do so. They will not take it to the market, and that's the standard, right? Now, yeah, that's the standard. Now, if you want, that's why some people kind of try to restrict, they try to privatize or yeah, privatize AI models to their organization. So if you don't want, if you don't want to use ChatGPT, for example, you can bring the AI model into your organization and grant it to your own data, so that any data, if you're scared of any data leaking, it will still be in your own system, right? It will still be in your own organization. But bottom line is that they are trained so well and they have prompt engineers that have to rigorously test the system to see their loopholes before they take the models to the market.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much for doing justice to that. So, so another question I have: can this be easily integrated into other Azure services like cognitive search, Power Automate, and maybe OpenAI, Azure OpenAI?
Yes, so Power Automate does a lot of things. It depends on what the Power Automate is trying to achieve. If it's still trying to achieve something that relates to generative AI, for example, right, generating content or images, then of course you can use it. Now, for any other Azure AI, let's say cognitive services, speech, text to speech, for normal Azure Open AI models, definitely you can integrate it. So
Oh,
yeah, you can even
okay.
integrate
Thank you.
to your normal social media feeds.
Oh, nice, nice, nice. So thank you so much to our online audience. So you have a new tool to play with. For those of you who are just hearing about Azure, if you are just hearing about the um, Azure
Content safety.
yeah, content safety for the first time, okay, so yeah, you can set up your accounts. I mean, Microsoft is kind enough to provide you a playground for you, yeah, a playground for you to play with. So this is a new tool for you to explore, right? Thank you so much, Precious, for the session. Yeah, it was quite informative, and for personally for me, I've learned something new today. So we look forward to having more hands-on. Maybe one of these days we are going to have more in-depth hands-on on this.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye bye.
Jonas, so he's saying that it's not an actual error.
Hello, Roland. How are you doing today?
Hi, Promise.
Yes. How are you doing?
Good. Yeah, I am fine. Good to see you. It's been a while.
Yes, really. Wow. Wow, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well done.
All right. So good. Yeah, so if you're just joining us, so this is our second session for today, and today I have with me here Promise Nwachukwu. So Promise is not new to the community, and for those of you who have been part of this Azure community for a while, I know Promise is a household name by now, so we are used to this face. He's a Microsoft MVP, a solution architect, senior cloud DevOps, right? So, I mean, anything general DevOps, cloud, machine learning, it's all rounder. So, it's a privilege to have Promise join us with us today. Okay, so sit tight. I know Promise always deliver. He delivers on his promises. Yeah. So I'm glad to have Promise join us for this session, and I look forward to learning something new today and getting more information and expanding my knowledge on today's session. So, Promise, the stage is yours.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Roland. Thank you very much, Roland. Um, I think right. I don't know if everyone thinks the way I do, but I see these sessions as a session to learn something new, right? That's why I like the word Roland used. I look forward to learn something new. So I know you might be, oh, I mean, I learn something new every day, but AI, as you know, is becoming a massive trend, right? And of course, you want to hop into the trend and get to understand how it works. And the truth of this is that it's easy if only you can, you take your time to join sessions like this to pique your curiosity. And then before you know it, you are learning and doing a whole lot on AI. Anyway, without further without doing much, let's proceed to the session for today. I will be sharing my screen. Yes, Roland, please confirm to me you can see my screen. All right. Okay. So, as you can see, today we are looking at an interesting topic. At first, I was like, I remember when I picked this topic, and I was like, I mean, what really is this topic about? AI powered language, understanding with Azure AI language. Wow, I was like, does AI really have a language? I mean, is there a different language aside from the ones we know, English, right? But that's the beautiful thing about this because I mean, before I came to the session, I was playing around with quite a couple of things, and it just kind of resonated with me. All of the things I see with how Google browser is doing what it does, and some other browsers, how they are working, how they are able to do some of these things, right? So honestly, most of these things are AI powered, right? So that's the beautiful thing about it. So just sit down and maybe you take your notes or maybe you on your system and follow me while I explain this to you. It's quite easy, right? And we'll be learning something new today, I promise. And aside that, I also have a task for you to do, which I would love you to take some time to get to familiarize yourself with the environment so that you can always, I mean, have an added knowledge to you. So, like I said earlier, we are looking at AI powered language, understanding with Azure AI language, right? So, it says here unlock the power of language with Azure AI, create intelligent apps that understand human language with sophisticated natural language processing capabilities. So, this is just a brief definition, but this presentation itself is just basically focused on AI language and understanding how you can translate between various languages. How does it work in the back end? So let's say for instance, when you go to Google, right, and you put like maybe you put some word there, or you go to Bing, right, and you put a word in the translator and it translates the language from whatever language it was to something you understand in English, right? It's this session will give some insight into that. Now, as you can see, right, before we begin to talk much on that, at least let's get a basic understanding on what is Azure AI language. Now, for you to understand what Azure AI language is, I think you need to look into three basic things, right? One is the core services, the key features, and the integration, right? This will then give you some insight into what Azure AI language is all about. Now, for the core services, we are looking at just basically APIs that provide advanced natural language processing capabilities through pre-built and customizable AI models, right? So, yes, they are models. You can either train those models or use models that have been, trained before or has been, trained for you to make use of, right? So those that is the basic core service. Now, looking at the key features itself, right? For you to understand AI language, you need to understand what text analysis is all about, sentiment analysis, summarization, and custom language understanding capabilities. So, AI language is made up of all of this because one, it itself, the AI language itself, tries to understand languages from let's say for instance the normal English language, right? And then also it could be Russian, it could be Mexican, it could be Spanish. Just mention it, right? So these capabilities of the AI itself, for it to be able to power through, or let me say, walk through some of the tasks you present it with, it has to have inbuilt capabilities. And these inbuilt capabilities are what we are talking about here. So, like I said, one, it talks about text analysis, sentiment analysis, summarization, custom language understanding capabilities. These are the inbuilt features of the AI itself, right? Now, the last one is integration, Azure integration. Basically, integration is how do you incorporate other services with it. So you can see here, seamlessly connects with Azure Cognitive Services, bot framework, and other Azure services. And as you can see in the diagram here, right, you can see here is the, will I say the backbone, right? The Azure Cloud Service being the backbone. And you can see all of these other services connecting to the Azure Cloud Service. Now you can see here, this top here, you can see the AI language, right? So here it's where all of these capabilities you see are being, should I use the word, exhibited, right? This is where all of these languages or these capabilities are being exhibited. All right, let's proceed. Now, natural language processing capabilities. As you know, right, um, one of the things you need to understand about AI or AI language is its internal capability to be able to process natural language, right? And for you to understand how this capability works, you need to understand some key things. How the I will call them like the breakdown of how it's able to carry out its processing. And for it to be able to carry out its processing, one of the things it needs to do is one, named entity recognition. It needs to be able to identify and categorize key elements in, say, text files, people's speeches, places, organization, dates. It needs to be able to at least identify what that is. At least that is the first thing it needs to be able to do. Now, if you remember when we were talking about the key features, we also spoke about sentiment and analysis. AI would not be, I won't call it perfect, but you wouldn't call it what it was if it's not able to distinguish between something that is positive, negative, neutral. Because, I mean, those of you who are used to making use of, let's say, the command prompt or stuff like that, right? You sometimes say, you might sometimes ask the bot or the AI service and say, can you give me some idea about this? And you are always cautious of the tone it uses, right? So the AI language itself, the processing capability should be able to understand what should be the right tone to make use of. Do I go positive? Do I go negative? Do I go neutral? Because it understands that no matter how it tries to present whatever is given to you, the tone at which it presents it goes a long way, right? So that's why it has this capability of analyzing what sentiments are all about, right? Another thing here is what key phrase extraction, right? Now, this is another will I say embodiment of your AI tool, right? Because for it to be able to process natural language, it has to be able to automatically identify main points, important points, and concepts in your document. For instance, let's say you asked maybe one of these AI service and you say, please give me the steps to cook a nice delicacy, right? It needs to be able to highlight what the main points are for you to be able to prepare that dish. And then, of course, aside the main point, there can be sub points and sub steps to take. But at least it knows, oh, this is your main point. Probably you need to on if you're using a stove or you're using an electric cooker or you're using an induction pot or something. One that needs to be there. The ingredients need to be there. Those are, I would call them the main points for you to be able to prepare a particular dish. And then the last one here is it needs to be able to identify the language, right? So, for instance, I can decide to chat with an AI service in Spanish. How will the AI service be able to interact with me if it doesn't understand the language which I'm trying to send across? Right? So for the AI to have this natural language capability, language detection is something that's very, very important. Now let's proceed. Now, customizable language models, right? I'm sure you're wondering what do we mean by customizable language models? Generally, these are just conversational language understanding, right? How um, the models themselves design how you design a custom interaction model. Say, for instance, you can design a model to pick how people behave, right? How do people behave when processing payments, right? You can decide to design your model in that form, right? Or what kind of languages are used in the process of making a payment from, let's say, anywhere in the world. What kind of languages are used? Of course, you definitely see things like you should be expecting to hear things like what kind of method are you paying through? Is it through your card? Are you using a pin? Stuff like that. So you can have it's designed in such a custom way to fit what you want to do, right? And then the next one is what? Custom text classification, which is just generally organizing your content what by categories. And then the last one is custom named entity recognition, which is just basically extracting domain specific entities. And like see here, it says Azure AI language lets you build models tailored to your specific business domain. So you can train your models with minimal examples using a no-code interface or what? A programmatic interface. Now, one of the things I would like us to do is a practical scenario here, right? Let's do a practical scenario. Let's take, for instance, how AI understands your language. For us to do this, we are going to be taking a demo in Azure portal, right? Good. So here is it. This is the demo I would like us to take. Like I said, I'm going to be sharing this with every one of us. Yes, good. So here's the link. I mean, if you are home watching wherever you are, I'd like you to actually take a look at this document, right? Because you need to be able to understand how AI is doing all of those things. And this is a simple tutorial to explain how Azure AI translator services work. Now, the first thing you need to do, or I would say prerequisite, is what? You need to have an Azure subscription. Why? Because you need to deploy a translator resource. What do I mean? So if you come here in Azure portal, you can just generally slash search for what translator, and then you see what translators, right? Now you can see in my subscription, I have two translators running. But of course, you can just create one, right? How do you do that? You just click on the create button, you select your subscription, the resource group you want to use. You can decide to choose the region. So you can see, please choose global region unless your business or application requires a specific region. Applications that do not offer a region selection use the global region, right? So it's advising you, right, to make use of global regions for you to be able to do this, right? So that's the beautiful thing about this. So, I mean, you can set up or you can use any of these particular regions you see here. But maybe in this case, let's go with one. Let's go with this particular one. And let's say we can create one and say Azure AI Service. That should be our resource group, right? And the name would be Azure, I'll say translator service. And well, I can decide to use any of this. Okay, maybe let's go with this. Oh, it says this subdomain is already used, right? So I can say translator service, or I can say something like this. Maybe I can use my name, P translator service. Yeah. Okay, maybe let me make it of my full name. So you can see this is not used yet, right? So I go to next. Here you can decide to expose it to the internet or not. So in this particular scenario, we'll be exposing to the internet, and you can try to put an identity, a tag, and then you create, you review, and then you proceed to create, right? Now, one of the beautiful things I love to do, right, for you to be able to run some of these commands, you need an environment to be able to do so, right? You need an environment to be able to do so. So in this particular tutorial, I'm making use of the Azure Machine Learning Workspace, right? I'm making use of the Azure Machine Learning Workspace. Of course, you can go to your portal and spin up a particular workspace of your choice, right? Once you have done that, you open your notebook, right? And we can then proceed here. So for this particular tutorial, I'll be creating a just, let me just call it a Python file. I could say Azure training, Azure AI training.py, right? And you see the file is created. And here, remember, this is what we are using as our tutorial. This is what we are using as our tutorial. So what we have just done is we went through the prerequisites, right, to create the translator resource. And if you check here, you see that our translator resource is running. So we can go now to the translator resource. You can see this is in a different resource group, right? So this is the translator resource itself. And what's the next thing to do? The next thing to do is, okay, good. If you choose this, okay, this is generally asking, or it's just generally giving you some information, right? Is your Azure secret key for your translator text subscription? Yes. So I mean, it's just giving you some information on what the headers would look like. So you see here, it says your this OCP APIM subscription key is what your translator service key from the Azure portal, right? And then the content type is required, content length is optional, right? So you get to see all of that when we copy the content here. So the first thing you want to do is you want to be able to ensure that you have you install request and UUID in your environment. Like I said, in the particular environment you are making use of is the notebook environment here. This is a particular environment you are making use of, the notebook environment. And in the notebook, for this, we can create a file for that notebook environment and just say, let me just say translator service, right? And I click on create. Now, what this will do is generally just like an interface where you can run your Python commands, right? So the next thing we want to do is one, already you can have this run. You could copy this and run it here, right? You can see. So you see, it says it already has these packages already in the system, right? The next thing you need to do is to copy this, right? So you can see, create a new file, call this in your preferred editor or IDE, and add the following this. Make sure you update the key with one of the values on the Azure portal instance. So you see, you copy this, and then you come here and you paste this, right? But for us to be able to communicate with the translator service, we need to make use of the key of the translator service, right? So we come here, we go to the translator service, which we did, which is this, right? And we come here and then copy the key, right? You copy the key and then you add the key here, right? Now you have the key. So this is just basically assigning the key to a variable called key. And then the next one is this, right? Now it says if you're making use of you're not making use of a global location, then you need to put your location here. So here you need to come here and pick what's the location of your translator service. For us, the location is Central US. So we will put that here. So this automatically assigns that, right? And then you can see here in your header, what it does is that the key is being assigned to your header. And then the location, which we put, is being assigned to what? The OCP APIM subscription region, right? This is the region where we are hosting our translator service, right? Then here is the body. So basically what we want to do is to be able to translate this, right? And you can see here, you can translate from English to what? Either French or Zulu, right? I think Zulu, let me see what language is Zulu. What language has a shortcut for Zulu? Okay, so Zoo is, I think from what I see, is a short for isiZulu, right? And I think that is from the family of Bantu, right? That's what I see here. So the idea of what we want to do is we want to translate this particular word. I would really like to drive your car around the block a few times, right? And we want to translate it from English to French or Isuzulu, which is also known as Zoo. So what we then do here is we then run this. Right? You click here to run the query. Now, if you look at this, right, you can see that it translates the word, I would really like to drive your car around the block a few times, to what? French. So you can see this is now the text in French, and this is now the text in what? Isizulu. right? You can here come here now, and you can write a couple of things. Say, um, okay, now let's even do this. Let's do this. We can say, I would like you to prepare a simple dish, right? And then you can then decide to change it. Let's say here it's zoo. Let's see. Let me see some other language you can make use of, right? Or better still, let's make use of French and Zulu, and then in subsequent trainings we'll work with other languages. So you can come here and then you run this. You can see that it says this is now the new translation, right? Well, I'm not so good with French, but I mean, say something like "J'aimerais que vous préparez un plat simple," right? So I mean, you can see this is what is happening behind every translation you're doing, right? So behind every time you go and you say you want to do the same, this is what you get. And okay, now let's take for instance, we have this, right? So now we have this. We can also do the same, right? This is in French, right? So we can come here and paste this here, right? I can come here and paste this, and then I would say, I want you to translate from what? From French to what? English, right? And then let's see what happens, right? And then you run this. So you can see here the text which it was in French, it was able to convert back to English. So you see here, I would love for you to make a simple dish. Of course, you know that in the process of translation, some words get intertwined in between. So this alone just gives you a simple way to understand how AI languages work. Now, I have an assignment for you, right? I have an assignment for you because I know we are kind of out of time, but I want you to play around with this. I want you to have some more experiences with this. And because of that, I I have some materials I would like you to go through. I've shared with you the link to the first tutorial. I want you to also learn this as well, right? Um, it's still the same thing we are trying to do, right? But here, what you're doing is you're transliterating text. What does it mean? Transliteration is the process of converting a word or phrase from the script alphabet of one language to another based on what? Phonetic similarity. So, what we just did was a simple translate from one language to another. Now, in this exercise, what I want you to do is what? Transliterate some text. And with what I explained to you, I believe you should be able to follow this document and get everything within here. So this is the assignment I'd love you to do. And I'd love you to come back to me and say, hey, I was able to try this and I did enjoy it. Now, also, if you also want to get yes, I've just shared the link also in the channel. Also, if you want to have some basic understanding on what it's like for you to, I would say, understand AI, natural language processing, right? You can as well also make use of this material here. Here, this material gives you an overview of what it's like having a conversational language understanding of AI. So this is another material that I would like you to go through. The beautiful things about these things is that they are kind of like one pager. They are not so much, where they give you scenarios of the various various ways or things that AI itself understands and how they interpret every language which you give to the AI, right? So that is one beautiful way to understand that. And the last one, which is I would say is something I think would give you some insight into AI language, is this. So just take this resource and have a look. And of course, I would like to get a feedback. I mean, if you did enjoy this particular session, I know it's a brief session, but I was able to, in this session, to explain to you generally what it's like for you to deploy a translation service with your Azure environment. So I'd love for you to give me feedback. Take the exercises, are the links to the exercises I've shared with you, and experiment. I love for you to experiment and come back to me and say, hey, promise, I tried this and I really loved that I was able to do it, and I love that I have a basic understanding of this. So I know we are past our time now, so I would be rounding off in at this particular point in time. But sure, like I said, I would love to hear from you. So send me a message on LinkedIn. My name is Promise Uche Nwachukwu on LinkedIn. Send me a message. Let me know if you did enjoy the session and if you were able to test out these materials and if you did enjoy learning about AI, natural language processing. Hello, Roland.
So thank you so much, Promise. Thank you for this. I mean, it's also new to me. So it's something, yeah. So it's something that I hope to, explore. And then if there are further questions, I'll reach out to you. So if you are just joining us, we have something super packed right for you. Oh, before I forget, Promise from the entire community on behalf of the Azure community and the Azure Nigerian leaders community want to say a big thank you. Thank you so much for taking your time to join us. I mean, it is not easy, right, for you to leave what you're doing, to, conduct this session. So we really appreciate you, really appreciate all your efforts and everything that you do to, impact the lives of upcoming cloud engineers, who are out there, seeking for knowledge. These days, knowledge is not cheap, but you are giving this for free. So thank you so much. Really appreciate. So if you've not heard, we have something big that is coming right on your screen soon. So the Global Azure AI Bootcamp is coming to you soon, organized by the community. Okay, so the link for you to join this session is posted on the screen at the moment. Okay, so please kindly register to attend this event. I mean, AI has taken over everything that we do, right? In today's world, AI is in one way or the other integrated into our technology. I mean, our mobile phones, our self-driving cars, almost everything that has to do with tech today is driven and powered by AI. There's one form of AI here and there. Okay, so this is time for you to glean as much knowledge as you can, right? And one of the things that we do in Azure Nigeria community is that we know how to give freebies. We know how to give knowledge for free. Okay, so our responsibility is to bring in the experts. Okay, gather them wherever they are in from every different parts of the world to come and share knowledge with you. So this is one of the sessions that you don't want to miss out this year. Okay, so we want to put you on the right path for you to kickstart your year in a very strong note. Okay, so we are putting this program for you on behalf of the Nigerian Azure community. So please click on the link to register and then invite your friends. Share this on your WhatsApp status. Share this to other groups that you belong to. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you our leaders, Promise, and thank you to our first speaker, Precious. We appreciate you guys. We look forward to having you again. Bye.
Bye bye, Roland. Bye bye, everyone.